All right, good morning. I'm Paul Greeff from LucidView. You might gather from my accent that I'm from South Africa, so I do sound a bit different from the typical English-speaking person. I'd like to talk to you about web content filtering and log data analysis with Mikrotik routers and some of the pitfalls that we have. So it's not a very technically difficult presentation. I'd just like to speak about some of the ways you can do content filtering on a Mikrotik, and also some of the issues you might encounter. And I have my colleague here who will also speak about some of the solutions that we've come up to address these kind of problems. All right, so the first one in content filtering is inappropriate content. We'd like to stop some kind of content from being accessed. And if you look over here on my slide over here, you'll see we have some sites that you can go to: YouTube, Pinterest, Google. There's many examples of inappropriate content. What about things such as malware? That is also inappropriate content. Now, you don't want to purposefully go there. This is something that unfortunately happens at times. You go to a website that is infected with malware, or you receive an email with suspect content, and you click on something you shouldn't, and you get some malware infection on your machine. Another problem of content filtering is torrent management. We have a few torrent clients: Vuze, BitTorrent, uTorrent. These are torrent clients that you have on the network, and for congested networks or for networks that you want to manage, such as your office, you might want to block torrent traffic. How do we do this? So there are various methods on a Mikrotik that you can address this problem. One of the first ones that you might come up with is layer 7 filtering. If you search for anything based on torrent traffic, you will notice there are regular expressions that you can use on layer 7 filtering. Now, we'll discuss pros and cons of this in a moment. You can see an example of the way you can do this. You can say IP firewall layer 7 protocol, and you can add a torrent sites category. And in there, you can add specific locations or things to filter out, such as the Pirate Bay ISO hunt. Now, I understand a lot of you already noticed there's an issue with what we are doing over here, and we'll get to that in a moment. So we can look for keywords, regular expressions, and try to work on that. And if you go further, you can use that regular expression on the forward traffic on your network. So I have a lot of lines over here. I'm not going to go into details, but you'll see the first one, add chain forward. We look at the layer 7 protocol, and we filter torrent sites over there. So as soon as the packet goes through the Mikrotik, it looks inside the packet and sees you are going to Torrent Bay, ISO Hunt, or any one of the other expressions such as the Pirate Bay. Now, this is all good and well. You'll see I pose the question, what is the problem with above? And we'll address that in a moment. Just keep that in mind. So layer 7 DNS filtering on the Mikrotik. So the previous one addressed packets going through the Mikrotik. Now we're addressing filtering based on DNS for regular expression. Now we can do a similar kind of thing. You'll see we create a new list called adult, and that's another regular expression. Okay. By the way, the slides are on our website, and they will also be hosted on Mikrotik's website, so you don't have to take pictures or focus too intently on the content, rather get the gist of the message. So you see we create a layer 7 list again, once again, a regular expression. Here I've created one called dodgy site, free porn tube, just a couple of examples of domains that might be inappropriate that you would want to block. And then we just add a firewall rule on forward or input if you are hosting your own DNS server that will look at that layer 7 protocol, once again inspecting the DNS request, doing a layer 7 regular expression. But the problem with this is, there's a number of them actually, but let's just first see how it works. So you can see you do a DNS resolution on a dodgy site, which is added to our list, to your little Mikrotik, and you'll notice the way we've done this is we said action drop. So if it's an inappropriate request, we just do not respond with a packet. So you can see clearly this could work. And if you go to Google, that obviously resolves. Now, this is great, but there's a major problem with this. Well, actually, let me go through my pros first. So layer 7 filtering, simple to implement, quick and easy. You do it all on the Mikrotik. It's free. That's a very important one. You can look at keywords. You can add XXX to the list. Anything with XXX in it will be blocked. Anything, add a keyword porn, anything with porn in it will be blocked. So there's lots of pros. It's done on router OS, and it is quite effective in some circumstances, but there are major drawbacks to this. The first one is, let's go back to torrent traffic. If you're trying to filter torrent traffic based on the payload of the packet that goes through, almost everything these days is HTTPS. So for torrent traffic, you're not going to filter anything that when you go to Torrent Bay or something like that, it's not going to work because it's HTTPS. The payload is encrypted. The other thing with DNS type filtering this way is you'll have to have a complete list on the Mikrotik itself. Layer 7 filtering is expensive CPU-wise. If you want to add a list of 1 million entries on the Mikrotik, if we take the 941 HIP Lite, it's not going to be very happy with you to try and keep up with filtering on layer 7 filtering. It doesn't have the processing power. So that's not really ideal. And then, of course, how do we manage things like gaming? If we want to filter gaming, that's another problem that we have. So you'll have to have a complete list of domains hosted on the Mikrotik that you look for. And whether you're filtering just on the DNS or actually the payload, doing this on the Mikrotik is quite an expensive exercise. So you'll have to have a big Mikrotik to manage a small network, which is not ideal. Which is not a fault of the Mikrotik. It's not designed to manage this on the Mikrotik. It's got a much more important job to do. So there are methods of doing this, and that is through things such as DNS poisoning. Now, all of you are very familiar with that. I'm sure you are. Here in Turkey, we see there's DNS poisoning happening. We had a little Vodacom or Vodafone router, and we tried to go to Wikipedia, and immediately we got blocked. As a test, we went to porn.com, and immediately we got a little block page saying it's against policy in Turkey to go to porn.com. So it was filtered on the ISP level or the government level. So to some extent it works, and you can see there's many ways of doing this. Obviously not on the Mikrotik. The Mikrotik needs to talk to an upstream DNS server. You can build your own DNS server with bind, start Linux bind server. You can use something like Power DNS or any flavor that you prefer. Alternatively, use a commercial offering. Now, there's many of them out there. There's OpenDNS. I've got another example over here. But before we get to that, you can get your free lists from the internet. You can add them. And I'm not going to go through how you set up bind, because that's obviously beyond the scope of this discussion. But the way this works is, for those who don't understand DNS poisoning, you've got a network, and there's your little let's go back up. There's your Mikrotik router over there, and somebody on the network wants to go to a site. Now, if you go to www.google.com, which is supposed to be allowed, the traffic goes to the Mikrotik sends the DNS request to the DNS server, and the DNS server gives you the IP for Google. It's straightforward, you get to Google. But if it's for something that you should not get to, the way DNS poisoning works is the DNS server sees, oh, you want to go to porn.com. Instead of giving you the IP address of porn.com, it gives you a different IP address. That's what DNS poisoning is. It changes the IP address that you would have gone to. And you end up going to a nice block page which says you're not allowed to go to the site, which is great. So an example of this is a commercial company called SafeDNS, similar to OpenDNS, which is now owned by Cisco. There's lots of flavors out there, and it's very easy. You add your network's IP address to their portal, and they create a set of DNS servers that you can connect to, and you just point your DNS to those DNS servers, and they will do DNS poisoning for you. You can see an example. We've added the DNS server for SafeDNS. IPDNS set servers, you give their IP addresses, and now your Mikrotik queries them for a DNS request. And just for an extra layer of security, people get smart. Now, I know my Mikrotik blocks inappropriate content because it's got DNS poisoning. So I just add different DNS servers on my laptop. to overcome this. So a next level of defense is we add firewall rules to redirect all DNS requests to the Mikrotik. So you can see there, we've just added a quick rule that says any destination traffic on UDP and TCP for port 53, redirect to your Mikrotik's IP address. So now if somebody gets clever, they try to bypass the DNS filtering, you intercept them. And you can see quickly over there, this is an example of the SafeDNS site. If you try to go to porn.com, it resolves with 195.46.39.1. That's their block page, and you get something to this effect. Right, nice and easy. So the pros are commercial DNS offerings. Lists are maintained by other people. You don't have to worry about it. Or you can do your self-managed DNS servers. There are free blocking lists. But the commercial offerings are obviously the easiest. You just pay somebody to do it for you. But there are serious cons to this. If you use lists from the internet, they're typically a bit outdated. They don't have all the new porn sites that might be on there. They don't have all the malware sites that are out there. These things spring up every single day, and they pose a risk to your organization. The lists are old, some lists are expensive, and here's an example. I was using SafeDNS, and I quickly did a Google search, and you can see that doesn't look like a very dodgy name. 21bungr.biz looks like a business site of sorts. Well, if you look at the screenshot of that below, there's definitely some business going on there. All right, so clearly there's a problem. And of course, I tried this a day later, and this site's still resolved. And I tried it the day after, the site's still resolved. So clearly the lists weren't updating very frequently and are old. And then of course there's another problem with DNS-based content filtering, and that's a big con for DNS-based content filtering is you can add a host entry. Now on Linux this is very easy. You edit the host file and you just add the correct IP for the site that you are trying to go to. And then if you try to ping the site, before you add the host entry, you get the block page, which is this 39.1 site, add the host entry, and voila, all of a sudden it resolves it. So DNS-based content filtering works to some degree, but it doesn't get updated frequently. It doesn't pick up new sites that you go to, and you can bypass it, which is unfortunate. All right, so that's the first problem that we have. The second problem is obviously the question of log analysis. So we've looked at some of the pros and cons of how we can filter DNS, but our company, we've always been of the opinion that you can't manage what you can't see. Right, so visibility is kind of a key thing. Now, Netflow is a very convenient way on Mikrotiks to analyze traffic, and you'll find that Netflow is a great way of analyzing traffic from all your vendors. So Cisco's and FortiGates, all these companies support Netflow exports. And the key thing here is to find something to analyze this for you. Now you want to have a nice little graph that shows you traffic, but already if I look at this graph just offhand, it says there's a big block of HTTP, there's a big block of unknown, a big block of DNS. Now, ports don't really interest me that much. Protocols don't interest me much. I want to know I'm going to Google, I'm using Google Apps, I'm using Facebook or instant messaging. So it's key to find a log analysis tool that's very good. But before we get to that, Netflow export, just quickly how to activate this. Some of you may have experimented with this. You'll notice over there on the Mikrotik, super simple to set up. IP traffic flow set, flow timeouts, just to get the flows to update every 5 minutes. And you say, where do you want to send this Netflow traffic to? Now, in this example, I've set up a Netflow server on this IP address that will do a quick analysis. So everything I'm discussing here is the ways you can do this for free or for cheap to quickly see what's going on. Now, there's one application that works quite well on Ubuntu that you can use to analyze Netflow, and it's called NFTop-NG. NG for next generation. And it's a very nice little application. You install it on Ubuntu, download the deb package, install it, and it can do Netflow analysis for you if you give them enough money. But there is a free tier, but you have to give them money for the proper, to get reasonable graphs. So you can see here's an example of how we started. I'm not going to discuss how it works. You can look at that yourself. But that gives you a very nice graphical representation of what's going on your network. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we can filter traffic, and now we can also see what's going on the network. As you can see, there's HTTP traffic, there's some Google traffic going on, some of it's SSL, and there's some Cloudflare traffic. But there's a key thing that you have to notice here. You'll see there's HTTP proxy traffic. We don't really see what's going on inside. My colleague will address some of those concerns a bit later on. So, okay. All right, so pros, visibility. It's in your own infrastructure, but the cons are it's quite expensive. You have to pay lots of people for this, and it does not scale very well. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague. He's going to get to the interesting stuff as to how you can solve this solution or this problem all in one.
Thank you. I'm itching to talk. What Paul has described has been what we've been doing for the last few years. Everything he's done is on our website, and it's relatively effective because it's very cheap. But as you can see, it has limited benefits because a clever guy or girl can bypass it. The reporting is not as meaningful as one would want. And this is what we had the same challenges as what Paul has pointed out. So we're giving away all our configurations that we've been using over the years. But since then, we discovered the power of big data. Maybe you can flick the slides for me, thanks. So the power of big data changed everything on the power that you can do with a Mikrotik. As Paul pointed out, let's just start with the one, managing torrents. With all the SSL and encryption, how do you do that? With big data, we now take that Netflow analysis, analyze it, and send firewall rules back to the Mikrotik. Because with big data, we can pick up the nature of torrents, as opposed to letting the Mikrotik try and pick it up, because the Mikrotik CPU is limited. It can only do so much. But the raw logs that come to us, we can analyze and see the trending over the previous day, hour, minute, see the direction of the traffic, all of the details to determine, is it a torrent? And then, if you want to block torrents, send that info back to the Mikrotik. So what we're doing is we're literally just offering a brain, where logs come into it, put an interface on the brain so that you know what information to send back to the logs. Of course, we've got a DNS content filter, and I want to talk to you about that. We're a South African company. As most countries like South Africa and Eastern Europe, our currencies are weak compared to the Americans and the British. And it wasn't cost effective for us to buy the expensive good content filters. Paul went through a lot of relatively effective content filters for how much you pay. In other words, it's free. So free and quite good content filtering, it's not a bad deal. But we wanted good content filtering. I want to be able to pick up ransomware. How do we pick up these hackers that are in your network and they're in there with the purposes of planting ransomware? We do it through big data analysis. That's how you find that one connection that shouldn't be there and you kill it off. So content filtering is important on two levels. Not just DNS based, because I spoke to you about ransomware connections, torrents, and dark web are all non-DNS based. So any company that offers DNS based content filtering alone can't offer protection against malware, hacker connections into your network where they plant ransomware. Can't manage torrents, can't manage dark web. With our big data analysis, we can determine those three things too, and we give the ability to block it, which is really cool because we send back the rules to the Mikrotik that Mikrotik needs. Otherwise, you have to have all these lists on the Mikrotik. So our cloud has all the data. We've got 40 million or millions of sites, and we are browsing, crawling all day, every day. We're picking up thousands of new sites an hour. So in other words, when Paul did a test and you find a brand new site, Let's say in your organization you're blocking adult, and one of your staff or kids finds a brand new adult site that came out that day. We will have it categorized within 20 minutes to an hour. Very proud of that. And we're doing this at an exceptionally good price. So we do charge. Of course we charge because it's big data. We get the data, we analyze it, and we send it back. And our billing model is literally a fraction above our costs. So we are out here to show you two things: how to do it free, how you can download and manage your own content the best way you can with a free solution, and then we believe we're offering you the best paid for solution, and you will see how cheap our solution is. Let's go through the slides and see what I've left out. Yes, so this afternoon, if you can go to our website, just open up our website, and I want to show them where this link is. Yeah. It's on that slideshow there. That's how I got to it. Next one, to the right. That's it. Just go to, oh shit, go back. Yeah. Okay, so I just want to show you on our website how you can access all of the free stuff that we've done. And until a few years ago, that's how we managed our clients' content, believe it or not, was through the free services we are actually showing you now. We have a brochure on our table, which you're welcome to take, and we please take it. And now you can test our paid-for product for free for 30 days, which does all the content filtering and all the reports that you can have on a Mikrotik with the reports that you want. But please take advantage of the free stuff, because sometimes that is by far the most powerful, and that way you lever off the Mikrotik's power. Our stuff is levering off the cloud big data power. We're at our stand. Any questions, please come and talk to us. Thank you. We love your country.